Nerds International proudly presents
Coming at you live from a whaling colony on the moon, it's me, Nick Lambslice.
Me, James Pumpkin.
And me, Harrison Hunt, aka Scary Bertha.
And we are
the Tabletop Twats.
If, for those that don't know, this is an RPG show all about tabletop RPGs. And today we got a jam-packed motherfucker of a show for you. And we've got a special guest here today. We've got none other than Sean Hunt. Say hello, Sean.
Yo, what's up?
How's it going, man?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. You know, just recovering from my post-apocalyptic sort of missions, you know?
Oh, right, okay. What sort of missions?
What?
Well, the ones that you guys were on.
Okay, well, we'll get into that. It's a bit of a weird thing to say, really.
Went down the road, got some radioactive milk, you know.
Got off to a good start. Awkward start there. But anyway, yeah, so we've got Sean on today because we've got a banger of a show for you today. We got feedback side. We got What You've Been Slaying, where we're going to discuss our recent Fallout game. Then we got the main subject, where we're going to be tackling the often asked question, do post-apocalyptic RPG games suck? And then we got Song Fight, and we got a new segment, the Emporium Galorium Bazaar, followed by Electro Letters. Is it going to be a good show, guys?
Oh boy, yes it is. Yeah. Well, as long as there's an outro.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay, then it will be then. Yeah.
If there's no outro, then what's the point?
It's nothing.
Exactly. So let's get on with the feedback in the feedback side.
Woo.
The feedback side. The feedback side. The feedback side. The feedback side. Yeah. The feedback section. So first bit of feedback comes in from a guy called Jay Rodman, and he says, maybe I missed the joke, but it was somewhat awkward hearing you describe Japan as a collectivist culture because they like collecting stuff. The word very much means something else. Now he is correct, I got that wrong. See, what collectivist means, it means focusing on a group rather than an individual. See, I once heard somebody use it in that context and then just never researched it and just kept saying it like that anyway. So, yeah, he's right. I'm absolutely wrong about that. So thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, but if we're not nothing, we're not unprofessional. Come
exactly.
on.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he finishes that little feedback with, that aside, this was a lot of fun to listed to. Thanks.
Good. Glad you listed it somewhere.
Welcome aboard, Jay Rodman.
And then Richard Walcott comes in. He says, my son just walked up while I was listening to the podcast, pointed to the Tabletop Twats logo on the screen and said, 1, 2, 3 poo-poos, as he counted your portraits.
He's the best son.
He's not wrong.
I don't think you should get rid of him, actually. I'm saying it like we had a conversation beforehand about potentially getting rid of him.
He'll go far, that boy.
I like him.
He already knows what's up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He can stay.
And then James Bonnet comes in. He says, really appreciated hearing the little cameo as a horrifying cannibal. The continuing adventures in Ravenloft are sounding better and better. Keep it up.
Oh, yes.
So we've been doing our Ravenloft DCC actual play. It's called Ravenlord. Check that out if you get the chance. And if you're a patron, you get to become a character in the show, as James Bonnet did, as he very much mentions just there. So, yeah, cheers, guys, for the feedback. Don't you ever correct me again. don't you ever. All right?
Ever.
Well, you could correct me, but just not Harrison.
No, not me, because I take it very personally.
You could correct me, but then I'll just, find you, kill you,
You can correct me, but I'm never wrong, so there's no point.
It's not worth it.
Oh.
Ain't worth it, mate. If you want to fight, correct Sean.
Shots fired.
There you go.
All right, so shall we get on to what we've been playing and what we've been slaying?
Let's do
I
it.
think so.
Oi! Yeah? What you slaying?
All right, so first up, guys, let's talk a little bit about Savage Fallout. The thing about it is that we're going to be talking about this quite a lot in the main subject, so let's keep it brief, shall we?
Good brief. Campaign over.
Yeah,
Don't
campaign
make pants,
over.
mate. Oh, sorry.
Oh, very funny. But anyway, yeah, the campaign ended. Essentially, what happened was we a bunch of us, wastelanders, had settled down in this town called Cool Hand Ranch, and we'd become the sheriffs. Now, what do we mean by sheriffs?
Sheriffs.
Plural.
Yeah.
Multiple sheriffs. Now, what it happened is that the town was sheriff-less, and we proved ourselves, all became the sheriffs, and wanted 5 sheriffs to be in the town, so we did that. And while we were sheriffs, we decided that we came up with this plan to make the town like the best town ever, and we were going to open a casino. Now, as part of this, we also wanted to become one of our players to become the mayor, right? And during our mayoral campaign, one of our sort of campaign goals was to open this arena called Last Stand. It was like a laser game in the town. But it turns out there were death claws in the arena. And so our plan was to send these guys, these mercenaries called the Red Wings, in there, close them in with the death claws, lock it, and sell tickets to the event.
Yeah, thus gaining favour of the town and getting rid of the Red Wings because, you know, they were sort of pumping in and basically,
waving their dicks around saying that they were the law when we were the law. And
but they were the law. They were the police, though.
No, they weren't.
No,
we were the sheriffs.
We were the sheriffs.
Yeah, you're the sheriffs.
Oh, this is gang up on Sean Day.
There's
So-
a hierarchy. You
So
know?
Sean was the DM of this campaign, and he's trying to, so his characters roll in, tell us that it's martial law and that they're the law when we're the fucking sheriffs.
Yeah, man. Well, you're in my jurisdiction.
We worked hard for
we
that.
had an in-game argument about jurisdiction, and then Sean even at one point had agreed that this was in the sheriff's jurisdiction, but then it still carried on. I was like, what? I'm so confused.
So our plan was this. We said to the Red Wings, we said, okay, here's what's going to happen. We're going to knock you the fuck out, and then we're going to sling you in there with a death claws.
Yeah.
And then it turns out these guys were immensely powerful. And what happened
Yeah, they were
was,
strong as
They were like
shit.
elite protection, weren't they?
Yeah.
If you've ever played Oblivion, it's like trying to fight the guards in Oblivion. Almost hopeless.
It ain't happening.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so what happened is that I pumped the main guard full of jet, and he went absolutely psycho. He started biting people left, right, and centre. I was playing Ryan's character at this point because he wasn't there. But anyway, then we knocked one of them out, but the other guy was an absolute crack shot with a sniper rifle from the hip because we were
No-scoping,
fighting
yeah.
inside. He was
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
360 no-scope Call of Duty all over the fucking place.
Yeah, it was like 3x3 room, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he just,
tiny room.
Running around with a Barrett.
yeah,
It was like 3d10s each time. It's like,
Oh.
there's raw damage.
yeah, and he was fucking. He had the penalty, but he was still crack shotting us
Oh,
360
man.
no scope all over the place, and he took us all out. And the funniest thing is that he took James's character out, right? And then we were all dead, but James's character rolled all these miracle rolls on his vigor, came back
On
to
the incapacitation
Yeah.
table as well.
Exactly.
Oh my
So
God,
he
yeah.
sort of came to, right? He was all battered, all shot up, and he came to in this room. They'd all left thinking he was a corpse, and he goes, right, got to get out of here. And
Our
he
last hope. Our last dying hope.
Yeah.
and he jumps out the window,
Yes.
falls to his death, and breaks his
Yeah,
neck.
yeah.
Yeah. that is the epitome of a crit failure. That is just fucking marvellous.
And so the one remaining character who happened to not be there was my character, Goldtooth Kenny, who then
Well, he's a psychopath anyway, isn't he?
exactly, and he looks around the town. I rolled a couple of notice rolls, couldn't find any of the previous characters as corpse. He basically thought, well, these guys have abandoned me then, and went, okay, well, fuck this, and left the town.
Yeah.
And that was it.
That was the end.
End of
Yeah.
campaign.
Oh, man.
It was so good though.
So, Sean, I've got one question. Who do you think you are?
Yes.
Well, you see, me, really, I like games, you know, and difficulty and challenges.
Right. So is this why, Sean, you never gave us A, any experience, B, any bennies?
Well, actually,
Got a good point.
I
It's got
gave
a
you
good
some
point.
experience, and I also gave you bennies. Well, I was going to give you some experience for doing all this crap that you did last game,
Oh, we went and died, didn't we?
but you died, so you can get the
right.
experience.
You lose.
Yeah, so what, we were just about to level up?
Yeah, you
Oh
were.
my
18
God.
levels, yeah.
Because I realised, like, during that fight, that we were, like, woefully underleveled. Like, woefully.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the sad fact about all of this as well is that, during that fight, we needed bennies. We really, really needed them, but we just ran out before the fight, and there was no reason for us to be awarded them during the fight because we weren't doing anything particularly good. And
Yeah, we spoke about this the other day, didn't we? And it was
for
just like
those-
there was no reason, literally, during the main point of when we needed it to get them.
for those that don't know, bennies like basically re-roll tokens.
I
Yeah.
always thought though that you guys were pretty good with telling me when to give you bennies. I sort of trusted you in that sort of way. Sometimes I give you them for your like good thinking and shit like that. But sometimes it would, you'd be like, well, this guy deserves a Benny, and I'd be like, yeah.
But it didn't. Honestly, it didn't come up during that game, and that was it.
Yeah.
What about when Sean got a card that meant that he got a Benny and he was just like, cheers.
Mate, that was so nice. He was so
Sean
cocky.
Sean put someone in charge of dealing the cards during combat out, right? And then that happened to me this time. And then as I was handing them out, Sean got the Joker, therefore he got awarded a Benny. And then properly under his breath, I was the only one that heard it, but I brought it to the attention of everyone else. He just went, cheers.
He was
Thanks,
so
mate.
happy, and then he spent bennies for his characters because he still had all of his, and we were just, oh mate, it was
And
savage.
his dice were unreal. Like every time he was like, oh, tell it to me straight, Sean. What are we talking? What are we talking damage wise? And he's like, 27.
Yeah, and then we could just hear behind his screen, we could just hear roll,
and the faces.
Sean's face.
Sean does not have a poker face. It doesn't exist. So if something's going down, like you can just see it a mile
I
off.
was supposed to wear my Vault Boy mask, but I never did.
Nah.
Unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
that was my poker mask.
Yeah.
That would have been a bit unsettling, I reckon, if you just wore that mask the whole time.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
So that's it, really. I mean, we'll talk a bit more about Fallout during the main subject,
But it does lead us to the same conclusion that we've mentioned several times on the podcast. Kill a DM.
yeah, Sean, you've run 2 full campaigns for this group now, and both of them we've died prematurely. I mean, the last one was Call of Cthulhu, and we literally got to, it wasn't even like the last boss, but it was like a sub-boss, and he went, I've been expecting you, and then chucked a grenade at us, and we all died.
That's so good.
It's like he should have turned around stroking a cat, but he was stroking a grenade.
Just holding a
Now, motherfuckers.
Oh, brilliant. So lighten up, Sean.
Do you remember that time as well where we were just like cruising through the woods, just like in a sort of, it was like a rural American town, and then Sean was like, you get attacked by ravens, and 2 of our characters
Oh
died.
my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, it was one of your characters, wasn't it, James? He died.
Yeah.
That's one for, actually, to be
Yeah.
fair, that's one, because often Sean's previous campaigns, like, he's a big animal lover like me, and you have to be careful of the animals in these games. Luckily, not too many in Fallout, because normally if any kind of animal comes your way, you're in trouble.
I feel like I always give good lessons, though. I always give a good warning as to...
Well, be careful of wildlife.
in there?
Be careful of any NPC that props up ever in Sean's game.
Warning, don't play my games. No, I forgot what I was going to say. No, I feel like I always give good warnings. Like, when you guys went down the metro in Fallout, and you were like, allow that. Like, you knew...
You don't want to give it away.
Not to fuck with that at that level.
Yeah, but see, we had such an idea in our head, and then we were like in too deep as well. We knew, right, we got to run away, but it's like, now we can't, because we're just going to be put in prison, and we needed Nana Moonshine to become the mayor, so we had to see the plan through.
Yeah, that was it. We got too invested in the idea of her becoming mayor, and then and that's why we fought those guards in, and that's why we got no scoped.
Yeah, exactly. But all that aside, unceremonious ending, whatever, still one of the greatest campaigns we've ever played.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely loved it. But let's move on, because we got a couple of RPG gets recently. So Nick, Mutant Crawl Classics. Now, we're big proponents of DCC on this podcast, which is Dungeon Crawl Classics. It's one of our favourite, probably our favourite D20 game. It's a fantasy game from Goodman Games. It's absolutely spectacular. Rules light, amazing game, and it is awesome. But they released their sort of version of Gamma World, which is Mutant Crawl Classics, and this is amazing. And now Nick and I both got this. So Nick, get your book out. Let's have a look at this.
Get your book out for the... Jesus, it's hefty motherfucker.
Well, it's a Goodman Games book, isn't it? Of course it will be.
Well, yeah, because this is the Bestiary, the Player's Handbook, the DM Guide, and sort of a world book all in one. So this is why this book is so amazing. It's got art by Doug Kovacs in there, who's probably one of the best RPG artists in the industry at the moment. Yeah, it's got a full colour map in there. It's got everything you need to play the game, and this is absolutely amazing. So in this game, you can play as a pure strain human, a mutant, a plantient, which is a sentient plant, a manimal, which is like a sort of bipedal animal type creature, and you gain mutations, and all of these mutations can be either mind based or physical based, and they work either like spells or like mutations how you'd expect them to work. So you can have wings, a big arm, gigantic eye or whatever, things like this. And yeah, they work like spells in a fantasy game or like mutations. And you also have things like artifacts, and these artifacts are like ancient technology, and you need to roll to see if you can actually use them and things like this. It is a very, very cool looking game. I haven't yet played it, but it looks absolutely amazing.
This book is sexy.
If you like DCC, I think it's safe to say you will like this.
And one of the cool things about this, it's compatible with DCC. And it does say that if you want to play characters from a medieval world that go through a portal and end up in this, or vice versa, you can do it.
That sounds like a stupid idea.
But it's a great idea.
Do that?
I love the colour of this book as well. It's awesome. It's right up my street. It's just so vivid. Lots of pinks and bright greens.
Reminds me of the
yellows.
90s. Like the colouring scheme is like 90s sort of colouring scheme.
So
I think that's intentional.
Yeah.
So it's a spectacular book.
It really is. Yeah.
In addition to this, I got a game called Gnome Murdered. Now, this is by what I found out to be a very controversial figure called Casimir Urbanski, I think his name is. And I know that's his name, but I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. aka the RPG Pundit. Now, regardless of what you think of his views, this book looks incredibly cool, right? So I was reading the rules, and this is a game you play people that are trying to accomplish things, but they're being hunted by gnomes. And the
sounds
gnomes,
awesome.
Yeah, the gnomes are murderous, right? Now, when you open up the book, it says the rules. Okay, for anything that you want to accomplish, roll a d6. 1 to 3, you get murdered by gnomes. 4, 5, and 6, you're successful. And then
Love it.
And then it goes optional rules, and then it has the actual rules in there. But it's like basically saying that everything's optional.
Yeah, fair enough.
It does say one alternative for skills in the game. You can try to best the GM in physical combat.
Oh, mate.
So you can challenge him to a duel.
I tell you what, that has sold it to me, just that.
Yeah, it's
Well, if you've
that
seen the
sounds
cover,
wicked.
the nasty looking little gnome on the front of that cover is splendid.
Well,
it's so cool.
It's very tongue in cheek, and it's based on actual gnome like folklore as well. He's a historian, the guy that made it, and it looks awesome. And as I say, I don't know if you should judge the person. Just have a look at the book. It looks cool. It's cheap, and I like the look of it. So
yeah.
One final thing, Sean, you were joining a D&D 5e game
What?
at work, weren't you?
Yeah, I have. I'm still waiting on that actually.
Oh, did I only play infrequently?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, so whenever everyone can get together, it's like 7 different people. It's like when everyone can get together and shit. That's when it's going on.
But you're going to be playing a cleric, right?
Yeah, I will be. Yeah.
All right,
When was you thinking of telling me about this?
Another group.
No, Sean told us about this ages ago.
Yeah, I did.
I'm joking.
Well, anyway, keep us updated, mate.
Yeah,
but that's
please
it
do.
for what we've been playing this week. So let's get on to the main subject.
Oh, yeah.
Bring it on.
Main subject. Main subject. Main subject. Alright, so the thing about post-apocalyptic games is a lot of people, they have their problems with them, right? When I first told people that I was playing Fallout, a lot of people said, post-apocalyptic games, they suck. And when I originally got American Survival Guide, which is a DCC source book, which changes it into a post-apocalyptic setting, a lot of people on Nerds International and a lot of people online immediately commented and said, "You lost me at post-apocalyptic."
Yeah.
And I was thinking, why is there this conception that they suck? Like, why do people think that they're bad games?
Yeah, where does the stigma come from?
See, I also posted on Reddit and I tried to get some opinions. So during this bit, we're going to be discussing the reasons why people think they suck and either trying to dispel them or just discussing them. So I posted on Reddit and it seemed to be half and half. People think they suck, people don't think they suck, and we're going to be discussing that and the common reasons why people think they suck and things like this. So let's get into it, right? First of all, we got some sort of listener questions and things like this. So Eric Lamoureux, he comes in and he says, "I love the genre in cinema and literature. I just haven't had much luck running them in tabletop RPGs. It's depressing. The reward of success is survival instead of becoming a hero, glory, or defeating evil. To be clear, I don't think they suck. I just don't think they translate well into tabletop RPG experience for me."
Well, here's the thing. he's saying about it doesn't translate well into an RPG, where you got all the best elements of RPGs in a wasteland sort of post-apocalyptic RPG like Fallout. You got your freaking monsters, you got survival, you got some cool weapons, you got townships, all of that shit.
Townships are my favourite thing.
That's what I play it for, you know.
But one of the things that he says here, though, is that the reward for success is simply survival, and I think that is actually a common trope that people say in about this thing. Is like, take for example zombie games. When people talk about post-apocalyptic games, they are often talking about zombie games because that's the place that people's mind often goes to, right? They're not talking about the crazy bombasticness of Fallout. They're not talking about the amazing creativity of what Free League are doing with GenLab and things like this. What they tend to talk about is zombie survival games, right? And often in that, what people associate with it is running from a zombie, getting to a place, then the zombies attack it, run to the next place, trying to get food, all of this kind of stuff. And to be fair, I don't know if those tropes can work in an RPG.
Well, they have done, because we did Nick's RPG, and that he had a lot of really cool situations in there.
Yeah, but here's the difference though, is that with the tropes specifically, you do have to find workarounds to make them work. Because what a lot of people associate with those zombie things is doing runs to get food, things like this. And what Eric is saying is that the reward is just survival, right? And if you're going by, let's say, for example, The Walking Dead, okay, and in that, what they're doing is they're striving to find a place where they can survive. See, when we played, that wasn't our goal.
No.
Our goal was to find one of the characters' parents, and so it wasn't just to find a settlement. All we had to do was find enough stuff to survive to get to that place.
Yep.
Yeah. So we had sort of an end goal, or at least an main overarching mission or arc.
Yeah.
It's just why people think it sucks because of zombies and stuff like that. Because I can understand that, because it's one enemy and you've got to be super creative to keep it fresh.
I would argue that in especially zombie games, I think when people focus purely on zombies, that's when it can lose its kind of appeal. But I think you've just got to think a little bit differently. So you've got your go-to zombie threat, great, that's fine. You know, you've got the hordes, you've got the all surrounding a building, all these kind of situations, great. But you've got to think about what else happens in a world when something happens like this. So for me, I was think of the more interhuman connections, the social conflicts between humans, the selfishness, the backstabbing, all this kind of stuff. And I tried to have that an equal part as the threat of the zombies were, to try and make it a little bit more than one-dimensional. Oh, look, it's more zombies, let's run. And I think some of the times you guys really enjoyed the more human-based conundrums.
Because a lot of it was us arguing as a team.
Yeah.
And I think that, when the reason it can often get boring is because it's like, okay, let's go and do another run to get this. Let's go and do another run to get that.
I suppose we're probably fortunate in that hasn't happened to us yet. I mean, we've had maybe situations where there has been a chance to do a run, so to speak, and to get some supplies and that. But it's so infrequent because, like say in Nick's game, there was loads of human interaction.
Yeah.
There was sort of loads of, in quotation marks, safe zones, so we could sort of be there for a while and not worry about the zombies.
Well, you started in a containment area, didn't
Exactly,
you?
yeah.
But you can totally see why it would happen, because when you're sitting down to play a zombie game, if you're a player, there are certain expectations you would have, right? And the expectation is that fighting to survive thing.
Yeah.
But is that fun?
Yes.
And it can be.
Yeah.
It can be, but the thing about it is that you have to make it interesting. It's not going to be interesting if it's the same thing all the time.
Yeah, of
in
course.
Walking Dead, for example, after a while in the series, they started glossing over it. At the beginning, that was the main focus, and then after a while, they just they boiled it down to a 30-second scene where you see them stab a few zombies, grab the thing, and get out.
Yeah.
And that's what you should do in your tabletop RPGs. If you're playing a zombie game and that is a focus, once the players become bored of doing those same missions over and over again, well then do it as a small cutscene. Just go, okay, everyone give me an agility roll. You go in, you grab the shit, you're out. Right, now let's get to the actual story.
Yeah.
Because that's not the story anymore. The story isn't you're fighting to survive, I guess.
That is exactly what Sean did. Just realising it now, that's exactly what Sean did. There was a couple moments when it was just like, oh, we were in a situation where we were like basically trying to scavenge for stuff like midway through one of our sort of excursions away from the population we just came from. And Sean just went, all right, cool. Roll. Was it one of them was noticed? There was a survival involved as well. It was like, yeah, cool. You get this, this, and this, as opposed to a long time sort of trying to find and locate and look up stuff. It was good.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just going to get tedious doing the same thing over and over again. And I think survival is fun, but but doing the same thing all the time isn't.
Yeah, as long as the campaign doesn't purely revolve around that one idea of you're just trying to survive. Add spice to it, mix it up.
But I think, though, that a lot of people don't realise, though, but I sort of like the survival aspect because of stuff like Pathfinder and D&D, where you are actually trying to survive and live long, like as long as you can as that character. And it's a real achievement in something like Savage Worlds when you do that sort of thing.
Well, that's a very, very good point, because John Henry came in with a message, and he says, aren't all fantasy settings post-apocalyptic? In my experience, games set during the apocalypse or far after the apocalypse are fun for players, but games about misery and despair are not. I don't know if I agree with that second sentiment, but what he says there, aren't all fantasy settings post-apocalyptic? I once heard, this was during 4th edition, but it's a very, very good thing. The designer, one of the designers of 4th ed, D&D, he said that most fantasy settings are essentially worlds of darkness where the townships represent pockets of light. Now, that same thing applies to most post-apocalyptic settings.
Yep.
Isn't that right?
Yep.
And the fact of the matter is that when you're playing a fantasy setting, it's pretty much the fucking same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that there are fucking shops that sell shit for gold pieces, but it's no different to trading your bullets. I mean, well, that is kind of different, but it's no different to trading your caps and things like this. And then as soon as you leave your town, there are wandering monsters.
Yep.
Same fucking thing as any fantasy setting. The only difference is it's had a fresh coat of paint. And the fact of the matter is when I remember ages and ages ago, let's take a look at the video game Oblivion, for example. When that came out, all they did to make Fallout 3, I'm saying it like it's a tiny achievement, was Fallout 3 was essentially a mod for Oblivion.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show that realistically, the two genres aren't that different in the way that you play. They're very, very different in the mood, the setting, and stuff like that, but the way that you play...
Yeah,
ain't that different?
Same
agree with
blueprint,
that.
different flavour, yeah.
So once you can get on that little sort of mindset, it really, really sort of makes you think differently about it. I mean, Sean, your Fallout campaign really it didn't really have like a fantasy feel to it, but the way that we played it was very fantasy, and it had a very Western feel to it as well.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had it sort of set up like a fantasy game. So you had towns dotted about everywhere and stuff like that, and these towns were living and breathing things. They were all their own ecosystems and stuff like that. So maybe it wasn't as post-apocalyptic as most games, like your traditional zombie game, because of that.
It felt post-apocalyptic though, mate.
Yeah.
I'm honest with you, it felt like it. I mean, when we were travelling between areas and we were literally like, oh, is this car going to last? We got enough gas? We're going to go in the right way because we're in trouble if we ain't.
Yeah.
And it really felt like you were on the edge. Like,
Yeah, I mean, there were points where we saw a ruined building, it started raining with acid, and then we had to get the robot to lift a bit of concrete above us.
That was you, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was brilliant. I got a good picture of that.
Yeah, man.
Well, the Penguins have made it, and they're going up against the Golden Knights.
Carlin Kendrick, he comes in with something that I think is quite another very, very good point, right, that's worth discussing. And he says, they don't suck. People just want a particular post-apocalypse that seldom aligns with the other people at the table, so the enjoyment fizzes out. Everyone wants to have a Mad Max or a Fallout campaign that will be zombs super awesome, but nobody can agree what rules or tone is right. Of the limited Mutant Year Zero I've played with Eric, I think they've nailed the genre as far as it can go, and it's a great game. And that's a really good point, because let's say, for example, you sit down at the table, you want Mad Max, and you want something crazy, over-the-top, explosions, cars, and then you get something that's really drab and misery and stuff like this. That could be a great game to play.
Why can't you have both? Like, my Fallout campaign was both.
Yeah, I agree, and we're up for that though, because we had moments of great sadness, and we had moments of absolute high adventure. But the thing is that what if you're a player that doesn't want that? What if you're a player that wants a consistent tone, and there are a lot of players like that.
Then they shouldn't be at the table.
No, but that's not good advice, though. What do you think would actually help?
Well, actually help players at the table get on board. Why don't you give them a little bit of, when you're doing the prep or something, give them a little bit of agency, give them a little spin an idea and just be like, I want it to be a bit like this, and then your GM can twist it slightly to appease them. Do you know what I mean? It may not be 100%, but if it's got that like single element that they've just pointed out, or that single element that they pointed out at the beginning, then they should be happy. And it's not difficult just to bring, I suppose, just one sort of small thing in. Like you said, if they wanted something Mad Maxy, it's like, sweet, I'll just remember to do that every so often, because that Mad Maxy kind of crazy, like, you know, desert big chases with crazy cars and all that, that doesn't happen all the time in Mad Max.
No, but that's not a terrible idea, because the fact of the matter is that even if you have this really horrific, miserable world, the car chase could be the reward. It could be the climax of the adventure. Yeah. You know, and then that player, when he finally gets to it, it's going to be like, yeah, it's my bit.
Yeah, because like we've never really done it, but we have had sort of some discussions. Like, say we have like pre-game intervals, like we're doing at the minute. Harrison's running some DCC stuff. We did one in the past where you gave us choices, like what do you guys want? So surely maybe that discussion should happen, and just like, what do you want, and I'll try and chuck it all together in the mix.
Yeah, but
I mean, for me as a player, I wouldn't go, it has to have this, it has to have this, it has to have this, because I don't feel like players should completely kind of pioneer the game, because I think part of the fun of playing a new game is when the GM drops this mad story on you, you know.
Yeah,
which
I like
is great.
playing through someone else's mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, but what I mean
but
is
discussion for tone.
But what I think is good is that yeah, having a discussion, sitting down and saying what you expect from the game is something a lot of players should do, especially if you don't know each other that well. See, I'm confident with this group that what I do when I prepare a game, because I know you guys all well, we're all best mates. What I'll do is I'll prepare something that I know you'll like. But when you're sitting down to play with a bunch of mates, when you put down your game, let's say for example you're playing online, you're inviting a bunch of players, what you do is you just go, look, I'm going to play this game, it's going to have this type of feel and it's set in this type of world, right? And then if players go, players can do what James says and just go, will it have this type of feel? And you can say, I don't know, but I might try it. You know, then that's okay. But you can also just say no, and then that player can go and play a different game.
If the game's not for the person, they can just be like, okay, it's not fit for me. But there you go.
But I think that genuinely is a problem. You know, but I feel
communication, I think, is the key.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons that Fallout succeeded quite as much as it did, though, is that there was a familiarity with that world, though. Do you reckon?
Well, because James had never played a Fallout game, sadly.
Yeah, I'd never played it, but it was so easy to get involved in it. And by, you know, midway through the first session, I think I'd fully hooked onto it. And I'd fully understood it.
And then I was like, on the very last one, we were like, what were we saying? Yeah, James, you were saying, what's a Deathclaw? And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot you hadn't played the Fallout games before.
Yeah, because obviously there was easy references for the guys at the table. It was like, oh, a Deathclaw's here. And I was just like, everyone's like, oh my god, like, what the fuck, let's run. And then I'm just like, put my hand up. What's that?
Yeah.
Well, like, oh yeah, shit.
Well, my point is we all knew what to expect. That's it. We all knew what to expect. And so when we got into it, we were enjoying it straight away. There was there was none of this like, okay, first episode, you know, we're getting into it. Second episode, yeah, we're really enjoying it now. It was more like first episode straight away, we're right into it. This is the shit. Like it. So
yeah, having the knowledge of the actual world beforehand probably helped everyone else at the table. But I suppose it could maybe even carried me along a bit. But I know if no one had ever played it and had no idea, I'm pretty sure it would have turned out in a much similar way.
You know, it still would have been good. All I'm saying is that you had all of us that loved the games, right? Yeah. And then you also had you caught up in the hype train. So it meant that all of us like could immediately get on with it, and so that does help. What if your mate just, let's say for example, Nick, you were playing an online game. If somebody posts, hey, I'm doing a post-apocalyptic zombie game, versus, hey, I'm going to do a Fallout game. Which one are you going for?
Fallout.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So definitely helps. Conrad Erasmus Neubert comes in. Post-apocalypse is really great for all righteous children of God, then living in the heavenly Zion, and it really sucks for all the sinners because they'll be in hell. I should preface this by saying that Conrad is a man of the church.
Yep.
I thought it was just being ironic or something.
No, he really does. He's either a
missionary,
priest
isn't he?
or something like this. He works for the church. He's a priest or a.
I'm pretty sure he's a priest.
Yeah.
Or pastor.
Pastor, I think.
Pastor,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah, parsley.
And then he says he's a pastor. He loves pasta. And he says,
Tut.
you're talking RPGs. Well, in this case, I really want to please my players and always give them resources they want. I suck at post-apoc GMing. So I think it sucks when I run it. The above was a joke, just to be clear. Of course, I don't believe in stuff like that. We'll all go to heaven, even the biggest sinners. Doesn't matter if you're like 200 or 300 pounds. God's angels will lift you right up to heaven. He says they work out a lot. Really good meat on those wings.
Oh, mate.
He's the best pastor.
He's
He's the
brilliant.
best, isn't it?
So, why then do you think that so many people have this like aversion to it, man?
I literally do think it's the whole zombie thing. Because thinking about it right now, right? I mean, Nick's first Savage Worlds game was a zombie, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't look at it as though, oh no, zombie, blah blah blah, this is going to be shit or whatever. I suppose because we were just excited, new DM, new system, because it was first time playing Savage Worlds as well. So it was like, yeah, and a new brain to,
it was,
to
wasn't
play
it?
through,
Yeah.
you know, someone else's ideas and that. But if you actually think about it right now, like you just proposed to Nick, zombie apocalypse or Fallout, right? Yeah, Fallout, because now understanding it, I know that the bestiary is ginormous. I know that the amount of zombies that you had, Nick, were pretty good. But let's face it, they were all just zombies. They were just zombies. There was nothing else out for us. Even if there was a dog that was a zombie, it was a zombie.
But
so,
he had different types, and that's
Yeah.
what made it fun.
he had different types. But you know, even after
I
that,
really want to show you the major overarching story because we didn't even scratch the surface of that. But it was like there was a lot more to the strains of the zombies and things like that. But maybe one day I'll let
But
you
then
know.
I guess some people, like going by what we were saying earlier, you know, with the like some people not enjoying the misery of it, because I know that some people sort of feel the same way about Walking Dead and a lot of post-apocalyptic things in general. Obviously, as I said, I posted this question on Reddit as well, and Reddit user Undosiskrakuto says apocalyptic games are like mecha. You need to like the genre in order for you to enjoy it, and I think maybe that's true.
Could be, yeah. I mean, the reason I did a zombie game was straight away do something that you're comfortable with, and I absolutely love zombie culture, books, films, and all this kind of stuff. So I thought, right, so it's comfortable for me because I know the genre well, and I used it. But if I'm hand on heart, if I went back, I'd do I'm doing a post-apocalyptic game next. Not a problem. Zombies, don't know.
But see, if let's say, for example, if you just going back to Fallout, if you weren't a fan of that universe, do you reckon that you could take it at all seriously?
If you didn't like it.
If you're not a fan of anything, right, you're not going to sit there and enjoy it.
No, that's
you know,
rubbish.
It's like attending meetings at work. It's like, right, here's something I really don't give a fuck about, so I'm just going to sit there, put myself on mute, and just browse the internet instead.
No, but that's not quite true, because put it this way, like there are many things that I'm not a fan of that would be great in an RPG. I've said this before, and I'll give the example again. Power Rangers, that would be great in an RPG.
Yeah, but we know that.
Second of all, sci-fi. I'm not a big sci-fi guy. I've never really liked it. It's not my cup of tea. But I love playing sci-fi RPGs because when you're immersed in it and you're playing it as an RPG, it's a very, very different experience. Yeah. But this guy's saying like mecha games and apocalyptic games, they don't really work as RPGs if you're not a fan of it. Specifically,
I'm a
because
fan of the genre beforehand.
The thing is, though, I mean, look at Maid. I mean, when you picked up Maid, I was like, you what?
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I was like, I was like, what are we talking about?
Excited.
But yeah, because you're into that stuff, and I'm not.
Oh, good point.
But
Actually, yeah.
playing Maid was one of the best games I've ever played, and completely changed my mind and outlook on the game. But if someone was trying to sell it to me as a primer, I'd be like, I don't know if I'll go for this game or I'll go for that game if I had two options. But it changed my view. It was great. Maid's a fantastic game. I had such a cracking time.
What do you reckon then, Sean? Do you reckon that people can enjoy post-apocalyptic RPGs even if they're not a fan of the genre?
Well, I find it hard for anyone who likes a proper pure RPG to not enjoy a post-apocalyptic game like Fallout or Mad Max. I totally get the zombie thing, but I think all the elements of a proper good RPG are in a Fallout or Mad Max style game.
Oh, man.
As I said before, you got your survival, you got your cool loot and shit like
Smashed
that.
up stuff. Come on, it's so cool.
Exactly.
And you've even got things like dungeons too.
Yeah, exactly. And I've played a couple of recently. Quite recently, it was a couple of over the top sort of improv type games where you don't have a lot of agency. It's just all about trying to get comedy out there. And I'm just like, well, give me a proper game, and that's what made me want to do Fallout.
Yeah. Like Fiasco?
No, Fiasco was great. No, I'm talking about.
Okay, that's getting cut.
Yeah. I was hoping you wouldn't ask that.
Yeah, I wanted to know. I'll bleep that.
No, this bit that'll be cut out. Well, wait,
No, bleep it, man.
No, I'll bleep it. That's funny. Yeah.
That's gone.
I was going to touch on that, going to a post-apocalyptic game and playing through it, is that in my opinion, I feel that it's focused more on the fragility of life, but from a different angle. In your typical fantasy stuff, there is the fragility of life, but you're kind of almost going about in fantasy campaigns like Billy Big Bollocks, because it's kind of like the norm, because they were like some of the first lot that came out, it was all fantasy in it. So it's all about that and elves and all this stuff. But then when you're thinking about it in a post-apocalyptic sense, it's just like the fact that you are, say, mortal or whatever type of person you're playing, it's like I think it heightened the fragility of your life and therefore made it just instantly more intense and made you play differently.
I don't know if I agree with that though, because the way I run DCC, for example, I mean the way the book tells you to run it in DCC, you come from a shithole town, right? You've barely travelled 20 miles out of your town. You don't know shit. And the second that you see a monster, it's not a monster, it's the monster. You don't even know what it is. An orc is not an orc. An orc is, you see a green hulking man, his muscles ripping, and he's got a sharp, jagged instrument as he lunges towards you, grinning his teeth angrily, his eyes bulging. It's not, and it's dangerous. It's exactly how I would run a post-apocalyptic campaign, except I'm running it in fantasy. And yet, in Fallout, we ran around like Billy Big Bollocks. We thought we were the shit. The second we got those fucking badges, those sheriff's badges,
That's because we got power crazy. And we were in quotation marks in the safe zone, weren't we? Because we were in the town that we'd been heavily invested in. We knew that inside the walls, at least at that moment in time, and had been for a while, we were safe from the outside world and therefore the monsters. So we had the ability to do that and roam around. But when we were out in the fucking wastelands, we weren't Billy Big Bollock in it at all, I don't think.
No, we were terrified. And
Running for our lives.
There was one moment. Sean, tell them about the garage. And this is a very, very simple way, because what a lot of people do, right? What a lot of people do when they run post-apoc games is what they do is they tend to have, okay, you get attacked by monsters, and now that's dangerous. You're going to die. But Sean, he constantly had situations come up where it was dangerous for other reasons. Now, give me the reason.
Alright, so these guys came up to a petrol garage or gas station for you Americans, which was abandoned many years ago. But it looked like there was still some sort of gas/petrol there. So they decided to just try and basically open up this security door by bashing it with a gun. That didn't work. They bashed one side off, and then James was like, right, I'm going to shoot my gun.
Laser rifle.
Yeah, he shoots a pulse rifle, which is like basically a massive fireball coming out of a gun. And the gas station starts to catch on fire.
Yeah, the worst thing is that James got really irate about this. He's like, I didn't fucking catch on fire. The gas station didn't catch on fire. I wasn't shooting the petrol, which was like, you just shot a fireball in a gas station, mate. You're not supposed to smoke in a gas station. You've just shot a pulse rifle in one. And meanwhile, James wasn't even anywhere near the gas station.
Standing by the car.
No, you were sitting
in the car with my head out the window.
Yeah.
Currently, my character, Shitman Shane, was in there.
It was at the door.
It was at the door, and I was just like, well, looks like this is happening. I just had to leg it out there, dramatic task. It was fucking horrible. But so that's what I guess that's a lot of the complaints that people have. I mean, we've kind of addressed a lot of the reasons that people hate them, or I guess aren't too fond of them. But why don't we talk about a lot of the reasons why? We'll go around in a sort of line, and we'll say why we think that Fallout succeeded, and maybe this can give people some idea as to what we think are the best things about it. So Nick, why don't you start?
So for me, it was the. Now I say the word survival in a loose term. This isn't the fact that we was trying to live and just live. I think it was more the mindset of being a survivor completely changed the whole ethos of the game. So normally we'd be generally good doing kind of guys on the whole, you know, with a few.
Yeah, we usually play heroes.
Yeah, exactly. This world, we just absolutely revelled in the fact that it was a bleak, dead survivalist world, and for that it turned us into it definitely made a darker game, but a very enjoyable game. And I've not played a game that's been quite dark. Like there was a lot of calculated bad shit we did, and it was brilliant. And to think in that, it felt so free to think like that and just be like, you know, yeah, we could do that righteous thing, or we could just kill him, make it easier. And do you know what I mean? And it kind of really pushed that idea. And for me, it was, yeah, like I said, it was some of the stuff our characters got up to was something that doesn't normally happen so frequently, and it was just so liberating to be able to do it. It was great, and I really enjoyed that. So I use the word survival as in a different way, as in so much as you just have that mindset that you're a bit brutal, you're quite ruthless and brutal.
No, you do anything to survive, I think.
Exactly.
So if you wanted a plan to go off, you would do anything because the last thing you wanted was to be run out of town.
Yeah, you basically had to sacrifice part of your soul,
isn't
it?
Totally. But because you're a product of that world anyway, we all argued that we'd be like that anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so next up we'll go to James, and then we'll end on Sean because he was the GM. He's the king.
He is the king. He's a fucking...
king of the wastelands.
Exactly. A sandbox king. Right. Personally, if you're going mechanic-wise, right, I think Fallout worked so amazingly well because of, firstly, using the system Savage Worlds, and secondly, the very slight alterations that they did just fit completely perfectly. There's a bunch of new edges and hindrances, and of those, it just immediately, at least, you know, for someone who's never played a game, I feel like it gave the feel. There were certain things that happened. There was a mutation deck. There was a brand new set of adventure cards that were made for it, which were completely for the system and
random
stuff.
Encounters.
And it was like, yeah, all this
Radiation.
Exactly. There was so many different nuances, I think, that they did with specifically the system Savage Worlds that I thought, because we're so well versed in it, or at least we've played it a lot, it was so easy for us to just completely immerse ourselves in the Fallout world.
Yeah, it was a system that we know really well, and then this just alters it with tiny tweaks, and then just makes it better.
Yeah, it's almost nothing. It was just like a couple of things. I mean, yeah, they had a couple of pages of knew this and got rid of that and knew that, but it was so easy just to, you know, we didn't have to learn anything new.
No.
I didn't have to learn anything new.
It was funny, man, the amount of
specifically.
times like we spent like a ridiculous amount of time getting radiated, and it feeds back into, because your one feeds into Nick's really, because there was a time where somebody got irradiated, right? And when you get irradiated in this game, this shit that it does, it's like, okay, -1 dice to agility, then -1 dice to strength and vigor, and then your hair starts falling out and your skin starts dropping off, and it's like, well, I can't live like this. So the things that we did to get medication, it was ridiculous.
What about when you lot were all poisoned and just throwing up everywhere?
Oh my god, yeah. We went into the mayor's office to like go and get a new mission, and we were like, do you know where there's any medication? Medication.
And then you guys went to the doctor's office and started throwing up in there, and he got fed up that you're puking in there. So it's
Yeah,
like,
we're puking all over him, all over the nurse,
it's
all over the desk.
But again, that goes into the whole fragility of life, isn't it? Because of these little nuances and the fact that we had all these extra things that could fuck us up, then, although at the beginning perhaps, and in certain circumstances we were Billy Big Bollocks, right? it meant that we were so fragile. It was like, oh shit, I need to survive. I need to. I know I came from a good nature and I didn't have this intent, but I'm fucking gonna die. So whoever this person in my way, they need to die or be at least extremely beaten up for me to get what I need.
Yeah.
So my favourite thing about it was that this was essentially, it wasn't like a hex map, but it was an open map, and it was that we had complete freedom. This was a sandbox game.
Best.
And yeah, as a result, like I've done sandboxes before, but it's been with a goal in mind. And what Sean did was let us set our own goals.
Yeah.
And so we started off with a mission, as many sandboxes do, and then after that it was, hey, do whatever the fuck you want. And I really appreciate that about the game. Now, this can feed into a problem where players are then just going to go, okay, we should get this amount of stuff to survive. But I think as a group, we had a bit of synergy where it wasn't, we wanted to just do fun stuff. And as a result, we only did fun stuff.
We went to the wacky ends, we're quite fortunate. But I suppose, if you see your players just going, oh, we just need to get shit to survive, then surely it's like a trigger.
Mission.
Yeah, that's a trigger point. Just be like, all right, okay, well, that's boring, or you're going to get bored. So here you go, something's just propped up.
Yeah, and that's the best way to do it, and that's precisely what Sean did, because there was a point when we got a hotel, realised we were safe, and then prisoners attacked us.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what you got to do. And I feel like we had the perfect balance between freedom and events happening. That was where the campaign was. That's how to do a sandbox campaign.
Yeah.
And that was why I think it worked.
The amount of player agency that we had was ridiculous.
It was.
You know that the prisoners bit, that was supposed to be an entire quest of you finding out why these prisoners are fucking up the town.
And I just chucked a mine down
Blew
there.
them all up.
Dumped a mine on their ass.
It turns out, like, probably after like several weeks of investigating, it would have turned out that Randy had hid these prisoners under in the bar. He's the bar guy, and he.
Yeah, so it was Randy the bar guy all along.
But I think we did. I think we completed one Sean quest,
and then all
probably
of it was
completed
us.
about 20 of our own quests.
Well, that was the sheriff. Once you had to go and clear out the prison.
That was it. That was the one success.
The one mission that we actually did.
We actually we came up top trumps on that one. We did it really well.
Smashed it.
And we played this game for 12 weeks, so it's not even like you can go, they run out of steam quite quickly. Rubbish, they do. You know what I mean?
This could have carried the fuck on.
Easy, yeah.
We said this could have carried on till next year easily.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
But Sean, so what was your favourite thing about it? Why do you think it worked specifically?
Well, I think it worked really because you guys really had a good synergy, as you'd said before. So your characters were really good and they fit into the world so nicely, because in this game, the world's kind of bleak, but I base the characters, they're sort of really wacky versions of real people, basically, the characters. So you got a bit of that going on. So you guys really fit into the world really nicely and got familiar with it, and it felt like you guys sort of, I don't know, it sort of felt like you guys actually lived there. It's hard to describe.
So I guess the tip would be, if you want to make your game work, maybe you have to try to have characters that fit in, and I guess that would come with the territory of us being a bit familiar with the world. So let's say, for example, if for any people listening that are thinking of running a post-apocalyptic campaign, describe your world a bit to the players beforehand, and just say, if you want to be a character in this world, this is, you might want to be this, or you might want to be that, or these guys exist in the world. There are these gods. Maybe you want to be one of those.
That did actually happen.
Bit of lore. What I really liked about Sean's game as well was the fact that we started off. We saw both sides of the coin. So we started off in our first bunch of characters as vault dwellers that had never actually been out into the wasteland before ever. So we went out when we actually finally escaped. It was all new to us. And then when they sadly passed, our second group were lifelong people that lived in the wasteland.
We
so
were
it was
raiders.
a completely different perspective. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that was probably like the best primer for me specifically, and I think for all of us, even though there was familiarity with the game of Fallout for everyone else at the table, I think although it ended up as a TPK on episode 3, we were just like, well, that's bollocks. We can't just leave
ended it there, yeah.
So
No
let's
way.
just do it again, and let's do a completely brand new set of characters. But it was an amazing primer. So lesson learned from that is, why not start with a primer?
That's a great idea. You know, what you could do, maybe players would hate this, but what you could do is run a one-shot in your world first of all, where you either intend to kill the characters,
Funnel it, mate, yeah.
or like a funnel in DCC, either intend to kill the characters or have the characters succeed or maybe get away. Maybe that would suck, but one where you maybe intend to kill the characters in a hellish way at the end, so they have a picture of the universe, and then start their real characters in game 2
after,
and then they've got a primer. Maybe that's a
It's so good. Such a good idea.
I like that.
Actually, what I did was similar to the games of Fallout, was where when I had you start in the vault, I showed you all of the elements of the world in that one game. So you had your disagreements with other characters.
You got stabbed in the back.
Yeah, deadly enemies.
We had the
radiation.
creatures.
Tunnel snakes.
And when tunnel snakes as well. and when you'd finished and you'd got outside and you saw how big the world was, you knew what was up.
That's because I do that as well. I tend to try and show people the elements of the game during episode 1.
Yeah.
And you did it perfectly, man. It was
cheers.
Hopefully we'll end the segment there, but hopefully those are some good tips for people, and hopefully we've addressed some of the concerns that people have. I don't think post-apocalyptic campaigns suck.
No.
I think they're fucking great. I've run a couple, not quite to the degree of this. Like I did the one in Bubblegum Crisis. But the thing about it is that I think they can be great. And so hopefully we've addressed a couple of things here, and you can take these tips away. Take it from Sean. He's the king, and if you ever get the chance to play in one of his games, then do.
Yeah,
do so, yeah. But I would say as well,
guys.
definitely.
Although he will kill you.
Yeah, we will kill you. But I definitely like the idea of saying, like, don't look at it as a post-apocalyptic game. Look at it as just another fantasy game.
Yeah, but with a reskin, like Fallout 3 and Oblivion.
Yep, exactly.
So this is Song Fight, where we do RPG-related songs and battle them to the death.
To the death. One of us, at the end of this fight, will be deceased.
Well, no, the songs die.
Oh.
Yeah. So this time we did post-apocalyptic RPG-related songs, and Nick and Sean are going to judge them and decide which one's the best. Is that all right with you guys?
Yeah, mate.
You got a co-judge there now, Nick.
Oh, good. I'm trying not to sit on the fence this time.
You fucking better not. Jesus.
All right, so you two decide who goes first.
I would like to hear. No, actually, let the guest. Let's let the special guest
Sean,
decide.
you decide.
Well, I only say this because he's nearest to me, James.
Oh, good.
So James, your song, what's it about? What's it called? Actually, I'm going to make a prediction. Is it either called Post-Apocalypse or Fallout?
It's called post-apocalyptic Fallout.
The chorus is
because it's always
Fallout.
Yeah, because it's always named after the subject we have to do. You've got creative titles for your songs.
Hey, wait, no, I've got it here. This one's called Free.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Okay.
I've actually named it. Layla asked me yesterday, "What's it called?" And then I was like, and then I named it. So,
All right, well done. All right,
here you go.
sorry. I like the ending. Oh, mate, that was good. That was very good. Very black metal.
Yeah, boy.
Top tune.
I went into that when I was playing it.
Did you just say it was a top tune, Sean?
Yeah.
Alright, well, I'm in trouble. Okay, so for my song, I decided to remix the song by Lil Pump, Gucci Gang.
Of course you did.
Because, of course, that's very post-apocalyptic. It does make me think of the end of the world, because it's such a terrible song. And my song is called Fat Man.
Hey everybody, this is Three Dog. Ow! Your friendly neighborhood disc jockey, and we got a very special tune for you today. This is Harrison Hunt with Fat Man.
You're dealing with the blown up city, motherfucker. You ain't dealing with no sit down shit. Half of these pussies dip a toe in the waist. They're gonna pack they dice and quit, motherfucker. We ain't playing around. This is big boy school where you turn any corner and a D12 roll could have you savaged by a goddamn ghoul. And speaking of ghouls, take an exploding dice to the face. Let us see who's a waste and replaced. Try to survive in a motherfucking place where every drop of water you drink is laced with radiation, ancient tidal basin, scream with sickening feculence. Ain't nobody in this world gonna trust you, cause there ain't nobody credulous. Fallout's hot, 5E's whack man. Don't like that, you can suck my fat man. How can a wizard cast in play? Can someone please explain that, man? How can a level 1 character have so many HP it's impossible to whack, man? Anyone who tries to defend 5E will end up in a river with some rocks in a sack, man. Fallout super, 5E's mutant. This shit's clean and that's a pollutant. Bitch, I'm Newton, you're just a nuisance. This got shooting and that's got commuting. Fallout's so hot that it's motherfucking fuming, and 5E's so weak that it's always losing. You 5E bitches need to shut the fuck up and accept there's room for improvement. Fallout's a game for the upper class. It's a game where your characters will die. And I ain't even talking like your D&D pricks. They could be killed by any bad guy. Oh, what? My precious character, Barry, the barrister who wields a banister? Yes, him. In fact, especially him, cause he sucks. But my point is this: the difficulty in this game takes the piss, but it's a simulation of what it's like to look into the abyss. Cause this is Fallout, motherfucker. This ain't your nan's game. This is the post-apocalypse.
Boy.
That was also really
That's
good.
really good. Yeah. See, it's really hard. This
That was bang
judging
timing.
malarkey.
Yeah, I see your
See
your
my
pain.
dilemma? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But you gotta pick one, guys.
Yeah, you got to pick one, guys.
Alright, so let's just do it like this. Sean, vote first. Which one you picking?
I don't know.
Right,
Nick?
well, yeah, A.
No.
Okay, A, get closer to the mic. B, pick one now. Go.
I can't. Nick?
Don't call me that.
James's, I think you could just hear that and wouldn't realise that that's a made song for a podcast. You'd just think that that's just a metal song.
Yeah, totally.
That's very good. But that being said, the lyrics on your one, that was quite...
I thought the lyrics.
I don't know why I went into a rant about D&D 5e being rubbish.
That's the only downfall of the song, I think, because the actual melody, the tune and the lyrics are very good, apart from the 5e bit. But it's a very grimy, dark, post-apocalyptic feeling sort of thing. But when James's as well was so.
Choose now. Right, we've got more of this podcast to do. I've got to get home.
Okay, I'll pick Harrison's one.
Sean's just telling him to say James's. What's wrong with you?
I said I picked Harrison's first.
Okay, alright, okay.
What, so I'm a winner again?
You win.
Yay! Sorry, James, but I did really like your tune as well.
It is both
of them were so good, man. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to pick because of that.
I think this was a strong song fight this time. So well done, James. Good. Shake my hand.
No, I mean, to be honest with you, it's straight down the middle. They're both cracking. I think you've both outdone yourself.
I will say this. No offense to all those 5e players out there, but it's a game for wimps. Fallout's for real men.
Up there.
All right. So next up, we got to get a new guest in because we've got a new segment. So.
Welcome, weary traveller. Come inside. Feast your eyes upon the mysteries that is the Emporium Galorium Bazaar. Come closer. Welcome to the Emporium Glorium Bazaar.
James, Sean, I don't like the look of this guy, man.
No, mate, I don't like the look of
I
that.
don't bite
Don't like
much.
the look of that moustache.
Could you stop sort of fondling your bollocks, please?
Well, I can fondle yours quite easily.
No thanks.
No?
Listen.
Tea, anyone?
Wait,
No.
what did you say your name was?
Jafar Jaguar.
And what do you want from us, man?
Well, you see, I am creating the most greatest RPG book ever made. I travel the whole world looking for the greatest and most mysterious RPG items. And if they are good enough, then they will go into my book, The Emporium Glorium Bazaar.
Oh, I see. Well,
Oh, cool.
you come to the right place, Mr. Jaguar, because we're all three of us. We're good at designing items. Sean, you've got a good one, right? I hope so.
yeah.
Because if you don't hurry up, he's gonna keep touching that penis.
I will touch. I will caress even more so than I already am.
So basically, this is a fantasy item. It's called the pellet of rubber making. So you throw it down on the ground, and it's like a 3x3 explosion, and it all goes up in a pink cloud because I like pink, and rubber. I like pink and rubber, and everything within a 3x3 radius, similar to a grenade, turns into rubber for 10 minutes.
My hand is getting closer to the crotch.
Right, so Jafar, would you make it out one? Is that going in the book?
Tell me, Sean, tell me. So this is a protection device.
You can use it for protection, but before, what I was going to say was that you can...
Have you taken drugs?
No drugs. But you can...
Would you like some?
Life. No, you can throw it on the ground, and you could, like, use it to jump in through a window. Or so you can... There's so many applications to this, it's incredible.
It is a one-use item?
Yes, it's a pellet, and you throw it down.
I see. I like this rubber pellet. Next, please.
Right, so basically, it's weirdly similar to Sean's. I'm not entirely sure why, but it's kind of like a grenade that when you throw it, it affects all people. So it's not just foe. It doesn't just attack the foes, but in a certain template, and you can mod it so it's bigger. You know, if you buy the more expensive one, the gold-plated one, then it'll do a larger burst template. But the idea is when it explodes, the characters within the catchment area, every single one has to do like a will test. If they fail, then what's going to happen is that their worst nightmare that they can think of starts playing on in their mind, and therefore leaves them incapacitated for X amount of minutes or rounds. And it also affects sort of their stats as well, so they can take depreciation in some of their stats like agility or strength or something like that. And if they fail tremendously on their will save, then it can affect them permanently.
So it is like a nightmare within a grenade.
Yes, like a nightmare bomb.
Tell me, what does it look like?
It looks like a skull.
It looked like a skull. But no, next item.
Okay, the next item, Mr. Jaguar, I've got here is the SmecTech Anything Detector. Okay,
All
now
right.
this right here, it's an artifact for Mutant Crew Classics. Okay, now let me just tell you, this device, it can detect any material, and it can even do it within an adjustable radius. In order to do so, you must have a sample of the material you wish to detect and place it in a chamber above the handle. The chamber is about the size of a human head and is made of bullet-resistant glass. The main portion of the device resembles a strange metal proboscis which sniffs out treasures. You will know when you are pointing the machine in the right direction because a speaker on the device will say beep in the voice of the ancient genius who gave birth to it.
This sounds great. It sounds strangely familiar for some weird reason.
And the cool thing is I've made full stats for this. I've made an illustration for it, and I'm going to be putting this. Well, no, I won't put this online for listeners. Wink. I'll be putting it in your books.
In the book.
Yeah.
So we have an anything detector, a nightmare grenade, and a rubber pellet.
What do you think, Mr. Jaguar? Would this go in the book?
I like them. I like them all.
Brown nose. Fucking brown
Yeah,
nose
you
making
brown
this,
nosing prick.
fucking brown nose making this shit.
I will be completely honest with you. So far, there is nothing in my book.
You motherfucker.
You've been travelling the whole world. You've only got 3 items.
Well, you see, my journey has just begun.
All right, let's
I got
beat
the bus.
This guy's a fake.
Yeah.
He's a phony. Let's beat him up.
Oh, no, please.
Right, take that.
Take
that, you
wait,
bastard.
why? No, wait. I want to. No.
Right, James,
Look, I'm
James,
sorry.
kick him in the face. Kick him in the face.
I'll kick you.
Ow.
I mean, yes, kick him out.
Okay.
And yes,
Don't get up! Right,
Okay.
come on, let's leave, guys. Let's get back to the
let's get
podcast.
the fuck
One
this.
more elbow drop.
Sean, right on the money.
Well, thank you for the meeting.
Shut up!
Okay.
In the future, you will be able to send a letter from anywhere on the planet. This is the future. This is the Electro Letter.
So this is Electro Letters, where we read your mail from around the internet. And this week we asked for your gaming problems and regular problems if you wanted, and we'll do our best to solve them, right? Because we're problem solvers, if nothing else. Sadly, on the post for this, I included a photo with this, and people decided to caption the photo instead. So the photo was basically of a girl, like, sort of looking worried, with two girls behind her, putting their hands on her shoulders, like, as if to be comforting her.
Yeah, they look like they're trying to console her or something.
Yeah, and it had obviously Shutterstock written on the front of it.
And the reference number for the image where you
So
can
if
find
anyone
it.
wants to buy that image, they
That's yours.
can.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Matthew Imaginary Truth Jones comes in, and his caption was, "I got my period and a bunch of random girls just started laying hand on me. Do I have the chosen uterus?" And then Matt Stark says, "Oh my god, do you see what Marsha was wearing today? Her shorts were so tight. Can you say camel toe? How do I tell her? Just blurt it out, or should I be really mean about it?" And then Trevor Hurst says, "If you don't roll 3d6 in order and keep what you get, you're not playing the right game, Nancy." So anyway,
Thanks for that.
thanks. But anyway, on to the real problems. Disembowel, aka Scott W. He comes in, he says, "Immersion is an overused term by gamers. How do you explain this? And what's a more concise term?" Don't know why I said it in that voice.
Concise term.
There isn't really a more concise term. Immersion is the term, and there isn't a more concise term than that. What does he mean? What's he on about?
He thinks it's overused. Like, certain people believe that immersion can't be achieved when dice get in the way. So you can't really feel like you're really there.
No, yeah, but that's what part of what makes it, isn't it? The dice make your game. It's like
They do, because they change. They put chance into
Yeah,
it.
they make the probability happen. You know, life isn't just fucking A to B.
They're part of the simulation.
It's like if you were like, right, I'll do the thing, and then you do the thing all the time, it's not going to be immersive because it's just going to be boring, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just making shit up. I mean,
Yeah.
the one, I think we're the wrong people to answer this question,
We are.
personally,
We are the
so we
wrong-
can't solve this. But
But we can.
if
'Cause that's
if you think immersion is a term overused by gamers,
Involvement.
getting into itness.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
But he does have another one. He says gamers aren't as creative as they believe. How do you handle this?
It depends, though, doesn't it? Obviously, if you actually think of it like black and white, no. Most of the games, say at your table, that the GMs and that are running, their ideas stolen from all over the place. They're not new. They're not new at all. All they've done is they've potentially just mashed a few together.
But he's a GM though, and like if you're not a creative GM and you've got a GM and you know they're not being that creative and they're just coming up with naff ideas, then maybe tell them and just say, "Oh, by the way, here's the tip: steal from elsewhere." But let's say, for example, if you're GM and you've got a player that's coming up with weak ass fucking characters every week, what's a way to solve that? But if you know they're not as creative as they think,
You just help them.
how do you help them? That's,
You could go start by finding out what they like, and then be like, "Oh well, yeah, I think you'd be good as this," or something like that.
Exactly. I mean, that's the way I've tended to deal with it in the past.
Well, that's what like bring me on to what I was saying earlier. Just one word: communication. That's it.
Yeah, and the way that you should do that is by saying to those less creative people, just say to them like, "Okay, well, I think maybe if their character's a bit one note, you can remind them, okay, you know your character's got this hindrance, or by the way, if your character's got that background, if they're doing like a kind of one note thing, by the way, remember your character's got that background," and just remind them. And subtly over time, I think they're gonna flesh that character out a little bit more.
Or as a GM, just add to their character. Just be like, okay, so this person turns up and they recognise you, or whatever. You know what I mean?
And if during the character creation process you notice them coming up with a weak ass character that has no real decent backstory, that's not interesting in any way, The typical one is, what is your character adventure? Oh, because he wants to get rich. Well, then you just say to them, oh, come on, mate, that's not a great character. Why don't you... Oh, I know you've been watching Star Trek recently. What about Data? That's an interesting character. Why don't you base your character on Data a little bit? You know a lot about him, so why don't you do that?
What about the boss you hate at work? Why is he annoying? Right. Could that be interesting, though, because you get so angry about that guy? Base a character on him.
Yeah, you know a lot about him. Yeah, so just try and nudge them in the right direction. If you know that character's not creative, well then don't focus on the ones, the players that are. Focus on that guy. Give him a bit more attention. Give him a bit more nudging.
Handle.
Carson Carroll comes in. Greetings, Harrison, Nick and James. Been a listener since around episode 3. Gotta say, I love the show. Specifically, I love how it's made me look at systems other than D&D. Me and my mates recently started playing DCC. Not a particularly serious game. We have a halfling named the Lorax who only speaks in rhymes. I thank you for broadening my horizons in the hobby, but I have a question for ye. Ooh. Like I said, my mates and I just started a game of DCC, but one of them wasn't able to make the funnel session. He isn't particularly sure if he should play 5 or so level 0s or roll up a single level 1. The GM is unsure what to do as well, so I figured I should ask you all. My answer to this would be, first of all, do whichever you like, because the fact of the matter is if you're going into a level 1 dungeon, about halfway through, the character should have enough XP to be able to level one of those up to 1. Second of all, what you could do is just start at level 1. If it were me and I was DMing the game, or judging the game, I would bring them in as a level 1 character. The reason being is because a lot of the players at the table are all going to have abilities and things and cool stuff that those level 0s aren't, and they're going to be having a lot more fun than the level 0 guys. So just bring him in at level 1.
He's playing catch up otherwise, isn't he, really?
Yeah, exactly. He's just playing catch up.
I agree.
Yes. Yeah. No, because we've experienced this recently, haven't we, James? Because we've been playing Ravenlord, and James, we thought it made absolute perfect sense, and it does make sense. Because Grimm's a level 1 character because he's an apprentice wizard, but James was only a butler.
Yep. So I was beneath, but it made complete sense.
He was playing 1 level 0 character.
And I was playing just 1.
And it did mean that basically in every encounter he had to stay at the back chucking things. It's mild spoiler, but you want to give, but that's for an AP where it's supposed to be cinematic and supposed to make sense. Whereas in an actual table game, you want to give the characters fun stuff to do. So, yeah. Sorry, I kind of took hold of that question there, guys.
Never won it, though. No, it makes sense. Never won it, and it'd be more enjoyable because, unfortunately, don't penalise him because he missed the funnel. That is fun in itself, but because that bit got missed, then just get him to catch up with the rest of the team and then they start adventuring perfectly.
Yep. Conrad Erasmus Neubert comes in. My problem. All other players and GMs always have way more time than I do for gaming. Should I A, stop playing Ultimate Frisbee, which I love, B, leave my family, who I love, C, give my notice at my job, which I love, D, stop playing RPGs, which I love, E, do something else altogether? I don't accept reasonable answers.
You know what I think you should do? I think you should make a stack of pancakes, and then put them in the microwave afterwards so they're searing hot and overcooked, and then smush your face in it whilst reciting the alphabet backwards and picking your nose.
Look, man, we need serious answers here. So
no, he said he doesn't accept reasonable answers.
Well.
So James is right.
Well, I'm about to give a logical answer. Burn the family. You got more time.
Burn the family.
Burn the family, right?
Which he loves.
Right. Burn the family. Leave the job. Fling the frisbee into a volcano.
And then you got the fox back over there with the chicken and the grain.
Well, I think Conrad should start a new RPG that involves playing Ultimate Frisbee with his family, but bring them to work, also his RPG lot, and just tell it, and that's it. Do it all in one hit.
But as a serious answer, I do think that a lot of people out there tend to talk up how much they play RPGs when realistically everyone's probably playing about the same amount.
Yeah, I mean we're fortunate that we're very strict and very stringent, but we like it so much, and we're weekly. There's a lot of people I know out there that are monthly, if that. There's a group that I know that they've raved them to me about their sessions and that. It's like, oh, cool. When you playing? It's like, I don't know yet. It's
See,
like, what?
I'd not lose interest.
It makes me feel
but
weird.
You would be gutted, wouldn't you, if you
Yeah.
literally didn't know when your next session was. So say you had an amazing session and you're at a cliffhanger and you're like, this is so good, and it's like, oh yeah, we're going to play in 6 weeks' time. You're like, whoa,
Yeah, a lot of
dude.
people have this problem. I mentioned this earlier about the 5e game. It's just so hard to bring all these different people together with all these different lives and shit like that.
And the way
It's
I
because we're
see
all
it is-
losers and we all can get together every week.
There you go.
Yeah, but the way I see it is, if you can't be involved on a regular basis, you can't be involved full stop. That's my
Yeah.
thing. I mean,
Yeah, as regular as the group can be, I suppose. So
Oh,
that's why a
totally.
lot of
There's
groups
nothing
are-
worse than like say you're away for say you're sporadic in your attendance and you're away for 3 sessions. You come back. It's so hard to fit back in again after the story's moved.
I
Yeah,
know what
just
you
for
mean.
on holiday and then something happens.
Yeah,
then you're
exactly.
just like, oh.
Next week I'm going to miss a session, and like it happened before when I went on holiday and I missed one of the ICRPG games, and I was like, oh, I missed.
yeah, you missed like basically, yeah. So next one comes in from Joseph Paladin Stewart, which is a great name. I mean, finally we've got a paladin on board.
Oh, hey,
He says,
Paladin?
Get out.
he says, hey y'all, I have a guy in my group who always DMs shitty games. Okay, fair enough.
Whoa.
I won't name him obviously, but they're bargain basement bad. He refuses to read rules, he fudges constantly, and his stories stink. Think Saved by the Bell meets D&D.
What?
What do we do? Kick the bitch out, kindly tell him he's a jackass, or kindly tell him he's a jackass, I guess he means. Help me out, boys, and keep up the good work. Joe the Paladin.
Sack him as a GM.
Yeah, no, I think right. If you want to be kind about it and say, hey, why don't we rotate the GMs and
Yeah.
let someone else have a go? Yeah,
but
because
then-
maybe they're a fucking fantastic player and someone else can take the reins. Yeah.
Yeah, but then what if you're stuck doing that guy's story for like even like 8 sessions or 10
Everyone
sessions?
get the plague, and then suddenly you can't attend, but then set up your own secret gaming group.
And
wow.
also,
Oh,
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
so he always
I'm
DMs,
still rolling on
always
the-
DMs
that's a
shitty
good
games.
solution, mate.
I mean, I need a little bit more context. Is he the sole GM? Or is it just
It
when
looks like-
John's
Always the-
turn comes around, everyone's like, oh, here we go.
Let's look at it from both angles then. If he's the sole GM, I reckon he probably isn't, because otherwise everyone would stop turning up.
Yeah, that's
right?
true, yeah.
So it might be that it's a rotation thing, but who the fuck knows? I mean, but if it is a rotation thing,
Definitely communicate and tell him, dude, we're not enjoying them anymore.
you can tell, though, as a
what
GM.
you should do is you shouldn't say we're not enjoying them. What you should do is like you should say the bits that you like. Like,
Yes.
I like this bit. This is sick.
That bit was wicked,
But,
yeah.
But yeah, this you should look at what you're doing here, kind of thing.
Oh,
It's
well,
well, that's what we've done in the past, isn't it?
Well, big up the good aspects and say, you should do more of that.
Yeah,
as
You do
opposed to
comedy
saying,
so well.
I'm trying to make you focus on the good aspects and not all the bad ones. No, but seriously, if they're bad, just you have to talk to them. They're your buddy, right? I assume if you're meeting up with them on a regular basis,
yeah.
you have to be able to talk to them. Like, you know, this is getting like genuinely serious here, this answer. But yeah, if you can't talk to your buddy about it, then
Yeah,
why
so
are
you
you
have
friends?
to just be able to say to them, okay, look, these are the bits I like, but you have to do less of this, and just be able to talk to them.
And fudging's naughty. That should be
Oh,
brought
no,
up
no.
anyway.
Fudging is a big fucking no-no.
And not
'cause he
reading the
says,
rules
he
as
says
well. That's
always
pretty like
fudging.
that.
Yeah, and if the guy, if it's so bad that you're aware that he's not reading the rules, well, that guy, you have to read the rules.
And I'm not gonna lie, if he's doing all that and consistently, his heart's not in it. So why is he bothering?
I agree. You just need to have a word, I guess. I mean, but that's harder than it sounds,
Of
isn't
course.
it?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely
this
it is.
person might, even to do a shitty level of GMing, you're still turning up GMing every week. I mean,
Yeah, he's still probably
so
putting
my
effort
point
in at
is-
some point. Yeah.
my point is, it's got to be hard to tell him, but you've just got to do it. You've got to pull the stops out. Then update us on that one.
Yeah,
John,
that's how it went.
because I want to know. Because if you end up having a fight, well,
I
that's
wanna
good.
know who won.
Yeah, that's
'cause,
good material.
You know, James did the whole genie thing, and you know he heard about it, and he's still hearing about it.
I don't think he's going to do that again.
Well, they don't know, but you know, next campaign,
Next-
it might just be
Revenge of the Genie.
Yeah, Revenge of the Genie.
Next campaign's going to be all about genies.
Yeah.
In it.
Interesting. The Penguins have outflanked the Golden Knight. They're pushing in with a rear attack. He is now caught both sides. Classic pincer maneuver, just the way the World War II soldiers were done in.
We got one more serious one, and then we got a couple of stupid ones.
Yes.
But Stephen van der Vieri, he says, I have a scheduled game with my group on the books for every 2 weeks, but often because of my own work schedule, I have to cancel sessions. Do you twats have any recommendations on how to keep the group engaged in the game during these extended breaks?
Oh, yes.
Yes, we've said it before, haven't we?
Yep.
There's a little bit of in-between sort of discussions and an open forum kind of area, something online that people can dip in and out of, share their views, share their stories.
Make a group.
Yeah.
Put events in there for every game session, and then below them events, comment the hell away. If there's something cool bubbling away, you got some plans going, have them inputs, have them out-of-game inputs, get conversations going, and it gets people G'd up for the next session.
Yeah, and additionally, invite players to share like short stories from their characters' past as well, and then those players will enjoy sort of writing about their characters.
Yep.
And also do a weekly planning thread, which is something we started to do right on the last session of Fallout when it ended.
Yeah. How are we going to plan this end?
We weren't to know. But yeah, we was planning our campaign trail, which obviously ended really like
But loads of people say that groups collapse for this very reason. I mean, Luke Thill commented on this, saying I had one just completely collapse because of similar reasons, and it's a common thing. Then I accidentally commented below that with a GIF that I didn't mean to post. So
I saw that.
Yeah.
The shock one.
Oh,
Yeah.
Anime shock.
was.
yeah, that was an accident.
Whoops. Should have deleted it, you fool.
Nah, it's fine.
If it is sort of consistent, then try a different schedule. Try and
Go online.
Try and say do it in a different place. Yeah, online is a really good one. That's what me, Harrison, and Sean did before our RPG group was birthed. Us three were just online, even though we live fairly closely.
Yeah, but then it could be that his job is so inconsistent, you know. And if that were me, then I'd say somebody else should probably GM.
Yeah. Either that, or if they're really, really bent on keeping up with your game specifically, then perhaps why don't you just be like, okay, so in the between times, is there anyone who has something available they could do, like a one-shot?
Very true, yeah. So if he's going to miss 1 or 2 weeks and he knows he's going to miss 1 or 2 weeks, if you tell everybody in advance and you've got a couple of other capable GMs in the group, they can step up, push a one-shot out, everyone's still having fun, and then you go back to your story once the guy's
Or
available.
why don't you even get them to do a one-shot in the same universe with some big characters?
Side quest, side story, all this kind of stuff. And with the stories as well, with backstories and stuff, as a GM, that is rich stuff that you can nick and put into the game when your players give you stuff. So when they give you more about their character, use it.
Yeah. So sadly, that is the last serious one that we got. We've got a couple of idiots coming in at the end here. We got Saga the Barbarian.
Yeah, come on.
He says, "Dear twats, I'm a 20th level barbarian, but I other to fight with a dagger rather than a gigantic great axe. Does this mean I have low sperm count?"
Yes.
Regards, Saga the Barbarian.
Yes, it does.
Well, no,
It's because you can't. You're dyslexic as well.
Well, no, because he's rocking a small knife. Now he could be rocking a big hammer and compensating for shit, but this means that he's probably got a big dick because he doesn't need to. He doesn't need
Why
to
don't you
wave.
just use that?
He doesn't. Yeah, exactly.
Get that out.
If we're talking Savage Worlds, take the trademark weapon edge. You've obviously got high strength, and then take the martial artist edge, right? You're gonna add a D4 to unarmed attacks. Use your big dick, and then you got like D10 in strength
Would
plus
that
a
be a
D4.
medium improvised weapon?
Yeah, it depends how big
Well,
it
no,
is.
be an unarmed attack. So you got strength D10 plus a D4 every attack with your penis. I mean, and then you
Critical
got
failure, you
Winning.
get bruised.
Absolutely winning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
then
Coca-Cola, you break your banjo string.
then trademark weapon. You're adding extra damage on top of that.
Yeah.
You'd also have to do like an agility trick to jump up and then smack them in the face with it. But,
Like a fleshy windmill.
Then they go -2 to parry for the next round.
You can do another agility trick to, put your sputum of your low sperm count in their face. Oh,
This
wow.
has got low.
Right, next one.
Speaking of genitals,
we
Terry
go.
Hansen comes in. He says, gangrene of the genitals. Is there a topical ointment for that? Should I just stick with a suppository? Damn, I mean, should my friend. I meant my friend.
What, his friend the suppository?
Is there a topical ointment for gangrene of the genitals? Anyone know?
there's a cream. I haven't had gangrene, but
Sean! What the hell, man?
What is it? Oh, we learned some truths on this podcast.
There is a cream.
There is a cream, tried and tested.
we have cream.
This is the worst show I've ever been a part of. So general questions, we got one, and it was from Conrad Erasmus Neubert, great friend of the show. He says, my general question, can you, the TTT cast, and of course Sean, play or describe or run really mundane things in a thrilling way for role-playing? I don't want to just do that now because it'll make us sound like ruddy idiots, but
Why don't we try it?
Why don't we give it a go?
all right, we'll give it a go. All right.
Haven't we spoken about? But it's funny actually because we've chatted about this before, and we said how funny would it be to have do a really mundane office RPG, but obviously the mundane stuff would become fun because they're so mundane.
No, but I was going to talk about Made, because Made RPG, right, is at its absolute best when you have to roll for the mundane things, because you fail them so often.
Yeah.
Then you have to take levels of stress, and then you have to do your stress explosion, which can be like running out the mansion crying and all of this stuff. And do you remember there was that point where James was trying to go into the room, his character just holding a tray of tea, and I said, I was like, right, give me an athletics roll, and then he cunted all the tea onto the ground. And then, as he did so, a cupboard burst open, and all the imps that you guys were trying to hide from, like the guys that you were trying to entertain, just burst out, and you guys were trying to. And it was like whenever you were rolling for the mundane shit, that was when it was at its best.
Yeah,
and just
it's
before
true.
that, we'd done a car chase, and it wasn't nearly as fun as when you were just rolling for just making a cup of tea.
But I suppose that's system though. I think what he's asking is just can we literally just sit here and then, like Nick just said, run through an office day of life.
No, all right, no, let's do it then. So, right, Nick, describe making a cup of tea in the most dramatic way you can.
I gazed upon the refrigerator as it slowly hummed like a morning buzzing bee. As I opened the sarcophagus, I located the liquid gold that is milk.
I placed the milk on the side, longingly waiting for the cup. As I turned on the kettle, and it whistled.
It whistled so furiously when it was done, and that was the time I knew that the water was ready. But was there something I forgot? I was making tea, but the long-awaited cup had not yet arrived, and the tea bag, had not yet met the cup at the bottom.
And so I reached my hand trembling. Could I really achieve such a task as to grab a bag from within the sconce on the side? And so I reached my hand inside, managing to stay my nerves. And as I did so, I grabbed the herb-filled bag from within its chamber.
As I was doing so, some heathen put the milk in before the water.
But alas, it was all for nothing, as I had no sugar.
And
I don't know if that was more of like a
dramatic reading of tea.
A theatrical. Fuck it. No, there you go.
We have no
Ultimate
experience in that.
tribute to tea. Love tea.
so that's it for the questions. This guy.
This guy.
Shut up, everyone. That's it for questions this guy's time. So let's move on to the award-winning outro.
Now it's time for the final battle. Magic missile!
So that does it for this time, guys. That's another show. We certainly did a show.
Thanks for show.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Sean.
Yeah, no problem, man. Yeah.
Sophie, you want to plug something?
Yeah. So I do a gaming retrospective podcast where I take you on a wild journey through games and all that. So yeah,
video games. We should specify.
Shall I do that again?
Yeah, start again.
No, don't do it again. I've got places to be, Sean.
No, all right. So I do a podcast called Two Crude Dudes with a K, and it's a gaming retrospective podcast, a video game retrospective podcast where I take you on a journey.
You did do it again. Why are you doing it? I said don't do it again.
I'm going to stab you.
All right, so it's a gaming retrospective podcast. He talks about old video games. It's really good. Check it out. You recently did a panel in Eurogamer Expo in Birmingham where you talked to a big audience of people. That's on there now. That's your latest episode, isn't it?
Yeah, that's my latest episode. But I've also done subjects like No Man's Sky, the whole story of that. I've also done Manic Miner and also the Flintstones
and the history of the N-Gage, which is very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So check that out, people, if you can. And if you want to get in contact with us, you can email us on tabletoptwats@gmail.com. That's a Freudian slip if ever I've had one. Jesus God, I don't know where that came from.
Didn't even register.
.com.
Check us out on pornhub.com or
/ the tabletop tits.
Oh my goodness. Or go over to Facebook at Facebook.com/tabletopT.
Or Twitter, which is at tabletoptwats. Yeah, at least let's not forget, go over to the Google Plus bit and your Nerdist National Community. And if you like what we do, sling us a buck. Patreon.com/tabletoptwats.
Yes, and of course this show wouldn't be a show if I didn't leave you with something to think about over the week, because life is boring when you haven't got podcasts to listen to. And so I'm going to give you, something to think about, something to ponder while you wait for the next episode. And here it is. Is a broken can opener a can't opener? And of course, the other day, right, I was wandering outside and I realised that North Korea had dropped the nukes, guys. They'd done it. They went and did it. And I realised that my home had been decimated. I've been sleeping there for weeks, but I didn't even realise. And as I was scrambling around there in the rubble, I found an old licence plate and I sort of, scratched all the dirt off and got all the dirt off of it. And I read the letters on there, and you'll never guess what it said.
What?
Chicken McBosh.
Also listen to my podcast.
I have always believed that such strange inaccessible worlds exist at our very elbows, and now I believe I have found a way to break down the barriers. I am not joking. They had found an unholy